As a second part of the session, we have a very interesting panel. I would like to invite David back, Anna-Marie Dentz from Mastercard, and Gyuzala Muzafar from 𝗹𝗲𝗁. So we had two very different topics. One talking about the proliferation of interfaces and payment methods, and the other one around the establishment of a very complex new channel for commerce with all the related implications. Anne-Marie, in this level of complexity, how can we stay competitive given the changes in the landscape?
So I think what's important here is, you've summarized it, the world is really evolving, the payment ecosystem is evolving at a speed which is completely unprecedented. We need to prepare ourselves to AI by putting an infrastructure in place that creates trust, and we need to make sure that we respond to the client and the merchant needs to be ready for all of this evolution. So then, going back to your question, how do we stay competitive? We need to make sure that overall, all of us will play a role in this. We need to understand what is the need of the merchants, what are the needs of the consumer. Consumer just want to go, whether it's online or whether it's in store, they want to have a transaction and it needs to be easy, it needs to go through. That's a non-negotiable. So that means that to stay competitive, we need to make sure that that flow is sleek. So the pipes needs to work. That's, the core is fundamental. We enhance this with AI. It's a new ecosystem. So we need to build a foundation all together to make sure that that same seamless transaction that we've had with contactless will happen in this new world. So all the players need to really play that part in creating that secure infrastructure. And we need to understand the merchant's needs. It's too fragmented at the moment. You were talking before around the different wallet options, the local schemes. The merchant cannot integrate with all of that. They need integration. They need us to help them and to simplify what it means. So I think to be competitive and to really help the whole ecosystem, what's important is to make sure that on the front end, we simplify all of this, and we create that orchestration, we make it more simple for merchants to adopt it, and we really work all together to develop an ecosystem based on trust, and as Mastercard, that's really what we are focusing on, making sure that we build that overall regulated rails to enable all of this to happen.
Thank you. Ivan, I got a curiosity. Yeah, we are talking about all the different players in the commercial ecosystem. What about regulators? Are they, because all of this development is, first of all, is exposing technical vulnerabilities. We got potential malicious use of the new technologies. And we got a question over sovereignty and consumer protection, merchant protection as well. So the development of a channel of this complexity and this potential magnitude of change is significant in terms of economic development and so on. Are the regulators doing anything? Are they sleepwalking? Are they just too slow to be noticed?
Still needs to, these regulators need to work on this, because still this is in, as I said, exploration into implementation phase. And as I said, liability framework, for example, needs to be adopted. So still we don't know how exactly these agentic payments, we are talking about agentic commerce, but the main segment, key segment is to establish payment security and to establish this full agentic payment. Now we have some semi-automated or we are using existing ecosystem, but this will evolve into something new. So this means that the regulators will need to adopt to this and need maybe on some segments need to make a balance in order to enable this new type of transactions. But on the other hand side, maybe to include new components, new regulations, which will be on site of AI agent, how to regulate AI agents in order to properly be integrated into this ecosystem.
Thank you. Gyuzala, just to stay on the topic, what is the merchant perspective?
Over the AI agents?
Yeah, over all of this development that is coming through.
Sorry,
all of this development that is coming through.
From a merchant perspective, I don't think we have any visibility if any of the checkout is actually happening from the agent associate, like initiated transactions. That would be really great to have that sort of visibility. I think we've attended yesterday one of the speech where there was the intent of being captured by capturing the actual prompt that was sent to the agent. So if that has been like, how do you call it, like tokenized or like encrypted and being like verified as a probably delegate authentication, that would be really great for us to at least see, okay, that has come from the agentic AI, so we could maybe adapt more our e-commerce experience towards the agentic users, let's say, rather than the actual consumers. Yeah.
Thank you. Getting back to this point, in all of this development, are we forgetting about the pain points that merchants are having in managing payments? Can you give us an insight on what they are?
Yes. So from the merchant perspective, the main pain points is going back to your point, is the reliability, is the actual consumer experience, the end consumer experience, or if it could be in store, like the transaction has gone through and there's no issues, how speedy it is, what is my e-com experience, what is my mobile app experience, because there's a lot of pillars where we as merchants, we get our revenue from, the orders from, and that also brings another pain point, which is the consolidation. We have essentially everything is fragmented, so we have separate sources where the data is coming from, and that's up to merchant how we consolidate it. There is no a platform that does it for us, at least at the small and medium level. That's one of the point. I think also that what we touched previously was that the payment infrastructure really is utility for us. It needs to work like an electricity. It just needs to work. We shouldn't be having this. We shouldn't be thinking about it, whether it's going to work or not. Is it going to fail me today or not going to fail? It just must work, because that's a core and essential part of our business. We are cashless. Most of business is going towards that. It just must work. And oftentimes it fails to serve, let's say, the purpose.
Thank you. David, you mentioned the proliferation of payment methods. Currently, we are in the middle of a sort of Cambrian explosion in Europe. And what do you see as being the implication and the possible remedies from the merchant side? I mean, as a consumer, I'm spoiled for choice. I can choose between different payment interfaces, different wallets, different brands, different whatever. But as a merchant, I'm on the receiving side, and I have to let my consumer walk out of the shop with a shopping bag. And in order to do that, I need to make sure that the payment happens, and I'm able to accept whatever they want to use. Is it going to be a sort of walking into a very complex nightmare? Is there a solution to this? How do you see the evolution?
So do I see less payment methods in Europe in 5 years' time? No. I'm sympathetic to your plight. We, as an industry, should make things easier. Every time we say that, we make them more complicated. We're great at this. We've been doing this for as long as I have been in the industry. So just to spoil you for more choice, you'll have 3 more payment methods to choose from. Worse still, when consumers are spoiled for choice, they want their payment methods. If they don't see their favorite one, they have an awful tendency to just walk away. So you, as a merchant, your ability to steer the consumers from towards one payment method or another is very limited. What our job is, as sort of payment providers, I like to say we see ourselves as sort of a glorified butler or waiter. So if you expand to a bunch of European markets, we are there to tell you, okay, here is a single platform. Ideally, here is a single sort of reconciliation point, a more or less unified reporting. Is it, to your point, is it like utility, where your electricity is the same in Spain as it is in France? No. Are we getting there? God, no. Can we as providers sort of make lives of merchants somewhat easier? Yes, and I suppose in order for us as providers to succeed and truly provide a good service, our job is to not eliminate complexity. There is no way on earth we can achieve that. But at least somewhat reduce the level of complexity, because yes, for you, payments should be an afterthought. And if even I can barely name the payment methods of Europe by now, and I can't put them even on a single slide, then yes, I can't imagine what it has to be for you.
Thank you. Embedded payments. What is the role of embedding in all of this?
I think for me, this is quite clear. It's really answering the problem we have. We're seeing more and more, the need of simplicity. And how do you do that? You embed payment as part of a platform or solution that you would be using as a merchant. So it could be an ISV that actually will be, or a SaaS provider that will be providing to you the whole reconciliation system, the invoice payments, and in there we could have, payments embedded. So I think what's really essential is to look at vertical specialization, how we actually partner with those types of providers to make sure that they can support overhaul the merchant ecosystem with a much more simplified solution. It's not going to happen overnight. We're working a lot on this and making sure that front end, we simplify the integration, the orchestration. Back end, we embed the payment solution and we provide that layer. So I think it is a fundamental shift, and it is something we need to do more and more. At Mastercard, what we try to do is work with different partners to embed different solutions to help then ultimately the merchants to benefit from this data, this intelligence, this fraud solution, and optimize the economics that you'll be seeing. And at the same time, we're also working directly with SaaS platform ISVs to do that, and developing as well a merchant cloud solution, which is a one platform where you can integrate and access this acceptance layers. So I see this as core, and I see this as the evolution of how we will be tackling and the evolution of where we're heading.
Thank you. With that, I have a follow-up question. I mean, the merchant acquiring value chain has been subject to reconfiguration now for quite a long time, like a good 15, 20 years. And parts of it are being pushed into becoming a commodity, as the actual interface with in the payment capture is taken over by somebody else. And embedding is a great example of that, where the payment and the sort of the acquiring interface, assuming it's not an acquirer, a PayFac, or another entity, it's just a very few line of code and a small window disappearing into a device or an interface owned by a merchant or an intermediary. In all of this change, what part of the acquiring value chain do you think are at risk of being pushed into an undifferentiated commodity in the future?
So from my perspective, I think it's around the basics of processing the transactions. That's becoming a commodity. We all expect it. And as we were saying before, the transaction needs to be authorized, but it's not sufficient now. you need actually to go to the next layer, which we already have in place, with additional intelligence and data that actually helps to optimize, the speed, the fraud rates. All of that piece is sort of a commodity. Where now you see that evolving is what's next, and how you integrate it all, how you embed payment, how you adapt it to the AI, how we create that overall digital layer of trust between all partners so that we're ready for that next evolution.
Thank you. Gyuzala, we got a lot of technology, like from the side of the payment industry, like majority of us are geeks and we like new technology, innovation things, and we come up with new stuff. But if we look at the merchant side, how all of this is being seen? Are we creating biggest barriers for transactions that were meant to be, in theory, simple? Are they still simple? How are merchants seeing and living all of this change that is happening? And how the industry can support, if any?
That's a very good question.
What are the biggest barriers that merchants face?
From the tech side?
In adopting new payment?
In adopting a new payment?
It can be technology, it can be training, it can be usability, it can be loss of customer control.
Yeah, I think from the merchant perspective is what we don't want to have is in-house payment team, essentially. And what the adoption level would be if our current acquiring partner is supporting that new, let's say we decided to expand into Europe, and we are back to your point, David, there is a local scheme that our current acquirer doesn't support. What do we do then? Then we start sourcing a new acquiring partner for that particular market, and that would be the barrier. I think the barrier currently that exists is the local schemes for the expansion, because I think most of the acquiring companies that we at least work with, they support like card transactions. I think that's where the local schemes, that's where there's a friction, and we really need to go and source someone who does that. That would be for the in-store, in-person payments, but when it comes to e-com, it's probably the same, really, from the get-go. You really want to be globalish and to be able to ship worldwide, and hence what we would do, we would go with the best and optimal acquiring partner that supports the majority of the payment schemes that are exist in the markets that we're targeting. I think that those are the barriers, really. Is there a one-stop shop for the payment solutions that our target audience is using? That's really is.
Thank you. David, you founded and you're running a payment company.
It seems so.
Seems so. That's based on what we know. What are you doing to stay competitive in all of this? How are you helping your customers?
Ultimately, and thankfully, much to the dismay of the merchants, complexity, we ultimately thrive in complexity. So our job, to put it simply, had it only been please punch in 16 digits into this little field and press pay, you wouldn't need that many payment players, to be fair. Now, where we specialize, and we're not the only ones to do this, we try to take a complex or reasonably complex ecosystem and simplify it so that merchants can come in and say, okay, I like to sell in these 5 markets, which payment methods would you recommend? And we say, okay, take this one, stay away from that one, this one is relevant, this one is not relevant, here is your single point of integration. And our job is essentially to make sure that when a new scheme pops up and makes it, we need to make sure that we support it, and we need to offer it to merchants in as painless of a manner as humanly possible. So ultimately, that's the niche where we as a provider specialize, and that's how we stay competitive.
Thank you. Tokenization has been for a long time a solution to complexity in a number of different transaction environments. Is it still a key to keep technical complexity in checks, given the proliferation of methods, interfaces, new channels? Ivan, you look at security. Is tokenization still going to be a central technology in the future to come?
Yes, looking how the technology is evolving and how the e-commerce community and ecosystem is progressing, the tokenization would be the key component that would be foundation of these next types of commerce that we see, including agentic commerce. So tokenization is, from one hand side, is creating this robust security, but from other hand side, how the technology is progressing and looking at the examples and what card networks are building in the solutions, the tokenization would be something that will simplify the way how to integrate and to utilize these payment methods. I would take, for example, now the click-to-pay and tokenization. So in the near future, you can use the same digital token, network token, for doing the offering payment method as a guest checkout in click-to-pay, and then using in the network with the network tokenization in the card-on-file solutions. So this is something that is going in that direction, and especially it's important for the agentic commerce. So this is, as I explained, the main pillar that would create this trust and security component that will mitigate these, I would say, security issues that we are afraid of when AI agent will start to transact. So we are mitigating PCI scope on the AI agent side, then we have automatic updates. So it becomes much easier to maintain and also to integrate, which also would be simpler for merchants and for acquirers in order to provide these services to the merchants, like Gyuzala as an example.
Thank you. So we got a few more minutes to go for the panel discussion. That's the QR code. In case you have any questions for the speakers, please take a picture and post the question, and then it's going to appear here on screen, and we're going to address it. Now, keeping going on the conversation, I would like I have a question for Anne-Marie. So if I'm a merchant, or if I'm a merchant acquirer, in the current environment, what should be my top priority to stay competitive? Would you have any advice, any perspective? Because that's a lot to digest. I mean, if I'm an incumbent, all of a sudden my environment has been keeping changing, and the change is becoming more pervasive. And before it was incremental, now it is completely revolutionary and is affecting absolutely everything, including who is my customer. It's no longer the merchant or the intermediary or the aggregator.
I think, first of all, it will depend on the size and the footprint of that merchant. Because if you're talking about a large international merchant, it will be easier for them to be much more up to speed with what's happening in the payment infrastructure. They'll have payment teams. They'll be looking at how to follow the trends and the evolution that we're seeing by putting AI chat box, looking at, following the modernization that we're going through. If you're an SME, I think this is where the challenge comes. Because it's not, as we were saying before, you won't have that knowledge to hand. So it would be around identifying the right partner that can help you not only accept payments, not only help you to optimize as well the payments to your suppliers or manage the whole end-to-end system, but players as well which will evolve with you so that you evolve within that ecosystem. Because it will not be your core priority. If your priority would be what you're selling and how you interact with your customers. So I think to stay competitive, larger merchants will be following the flows and partnering with directly, networks or different payment providers. But SMEs is where we all need to make an effort to create that education and have a one-stop shop to support them.
Thank you. So we got a couple of questions coming up. The first one, I think, is, David, for you, is $1 million question. Do issuers really want Vero to succeed, or is it just a hedge? What do you see? What do you hear? Assuming you hear, like if you don't hear anything, that's an answer as well.
Again, not to speculate much, but to the best of my knowledge, Vero has raised around 650 million from its founding shareholders, most of whom are large retail banks, i.e. issuers. That's an expensive hedge. I do think they have a vested interest in making sure that Vero succeeds. There are also some other reasons why it is in their best interest. Issuers generally are not as thrilled about Apple Pay and Google Pay as some others because it is costly to them. Vero brings the consumer back into the issuer, the banking mobile app. So is there going to be a hedge element to anything? I would say certainly, but I think it's safe to say that it's way too large for it just to be a by the way thing that you write off in case it just doesn't work.
Thank you. We got two more questions, of which I find one very, very interesting, and I would welcome your perspective. Are there in the industry protected from agentic commerce, complexity, transformation, somehow disintermediation? Who has a view?
I can comment on this. I would say that in general, industry will need to adopt. So that's something that must be done in order to follow this progress of the AI technology. But I would say that how the technology is evolving, that's how the technical providers, payment providers will adopt to this and will help industries to adopt to this complexity and transformation. So it's inevitable that these payment technical providers will need, as G&D Netcetera is doing now, we are starting to preparing for what coming next, meaning to help industry, to help merchants, and also to all participants in the ecosystem to seamlessly integrate into this what coming next AI world.
And that's where having, regulated infrastructure for AI, I think agentic commerce will be essential.
Yeah.
I think at the moment we're not 100% there, but we need to really work together, do some trials, validate how secure this is, to really have a strong protocol to make sure that we can actually evolve in that world in a safe manner.
Thank you. So, we got more questions coming in, and we haven't got a lot of time left. And by the way, we are the panel between you and lunch, so we don't want to get you angry at any point. So I would suggest that we take some of these discussions offline, but as a closing remark, if you had to describe the current competitive and developing and forward-looking situation of the merchant acquiring industry with one word, which word would you use? David, would you like to go first?
I'll go with two words: interesting mess.
Okay, that's a bit cheating, but yeah, the concept is pretty...
Pick one of the two.
Comes across, yeah. So if you had to choose one, would be interesting or would be mess?
Depending on the day. I'll go with interesting for the sake of argument.
Thank you. Ivan?
I don't know, I will need to use two words. It's
Okay, two words.
I think it's a fragmentation from positive perspective. So positive.
That's way more than 2.
Positive fragmentation, yeah, which will bring something.
Okay.
benefit.
Marie.
So now I feel I need to use 2 words. So complex and interconnected.
Okay. And what is the final one, or the final 2?
I think it's going to be like the exciting element. I think as a small and medium merchants, we're very excited
Thank
for
you.
the future. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. Please join me in thanking the panel. We got some pending questions, so please engage with our speakers during the break. And as we get into the lunch break, we released a new report, the Next Generation Acquiring Processing. The reports are out in the hall. They are free to take in case you may find the topic of interest. Please take a copy. Thank you.